Mrs. Young and Ms. Ward here with us tonight. We want to thank you for joining us, and thank you for submitting all the great questions that we could give to Mr. Connolly so he could incorporate the answers into tonight's presentation. I just wanted to do a little bit of PTO business before we hand it over to him to kind of get going. A few plugs for stuff that's going on. One thing I wanted to remind everybody of is please sign up for the PTO. That's the biggest thing you can do right now. So you can get the e-blast, so you can sign up for programs and all that good stuff. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all the volunteers who have worked so hard over the summer putting together the school supplies and all the programs for our kids and our teachers coming this fall and into the school year. There's a lot of hard work that's gone in over the summer. While some of us were at the beach, others were, chasing down school supplies and all that good stuff. A couple quick reminders. School supply pickups. Originally, we had planned on 3 days of pickups, but unfortunately, due to COVID, we've had some unexpected delays. So we're shifting from 3 days to 2 days. There's no longer a pickup on Monday, but we're still going to keep Tuesday, August 31st from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. and Wednesday, September 1st, which is the first day of school, from 4 to 7 p.m. Those pickups will be in the new gym, and we'll send out some more information shortly. Also, at the risk of sounding blunt, please do not ask us if you can pick your kids' kits up. It's during the day on Monday or Tuesday. There's orientation going on, there's construction, there's teacher development going on. So that's just not an option. These are the days that we worked out with Mr. Connolly to do it in the evening or the afternoon hours. And so that's when we're available to do it. And we appreciate your understanding there. Also, if you can't remember what you ordered, you can go to mmspto.net. You just log in and you click on previous orders up in the top right of the screen. It'll take you to all your orders and your invoices. So you can see all the stuff you've ordered throughout the years or whatever. You can also go to My Account, scroll down to Account Info, and a bunch of tabs will pop up where you can check your orders. You can see your membership status. You can see your communication subscriptions. Like if you want to subscribe to the ASC calendars or whatever, that stuff is all in there. It's all within your account. So I just want to let everybody know that so you can check, please, before you come to the school supply pickup and say, I don't know what I ordered. It's much easier if you guys can check and know ahead of time. A couple upcoming dates that I wanted you guys to know about. In September, Monday, September 13th, we're going to have our 6th grade ice cream social. That's 3:15 to 4:15 p.m. Details will be coming in e-blasts, in the coming weeks. It's a chaperone event, so kids need to have a chaperone. Even if a parent comes with a few different kids, that's fine, but it's not a drop-off event. And we'll send you more information later. Friday, September 17th at 9:15 a.m., we will be having our first PTO meeting of the year. We're going to start the year with a virtual meeting, and we will send out the link for that in the coming weeks. Again, we're just trying to ease into the year. We really hope to get back to in-person meetings, but for now, we're going to go with virtual meetings as we get the year started. Thursday, September 23rd is the back to school night for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Normally it's 2 different nights, but this year Mr. Connolly's collapsing it into one night. And information will be coming to you guys from the school. So look for that. Other thing, tonight, ASC. Registration starts at 9:30 tonight. So don't forget, you have to be a PTO member first. So make sure you've got your dues paid. And again, you can go back and check your account info if you're not sure. You also have to be logged in. So when you get to the website, don't forget to log in. We have a lot of people that are like, I can't find the form. I can't find the form. And it's just because they either aren't a PTO member, they haven't paid their membership dues, or they haven't logged in. And those two things are key for that form to present to you. I think that's it. If you're interested in any school supplies, I don't think we really have any extra kits. We don't usually order extra inventory, but you can always reach out to school supplies at mmspto.net and see. Sometimes we have kits from last year. And I know we do have extra planners. So I think we ordered maybe 45 or something like that extra planners. So if you didn't get one, you can reach out to school supplies as well. And I believe we're going to be having a second gym order sale. So look for information on that coming soon too. I think that's it. Jill, did I cover everything? Or
got everything checked off, everything.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So I know you guys don't want to hear from us, and you're here to hear what Mr. Connolly has to say and have all your questions answered. He's going to be talking tonight about returning back to school, some of your COVID questions. He's going to go over the new schedule and all kinds of good stuff. So please try to listen for the whole presentation. I think as you listen along, hopefully a lot of your questions will be answered. And if not, it's something that we can touch base on towards the end of the meeting, or we can open it up to people sending questions that we can put together an FAQ page on the website or something. Okay, Mr. Connolly, take it away.
Well, it's great to be back, and it's great to have an opportunity to address the entire school community. Before we get going, I know there's a lot of questions, and really we put this meeting on the books to really help settle everybody and to give you the information that you need to go into this school year feeling really good about what we're doing as a school and as a community to address the current situation that we're in. So just give me a moment to share my screen and we will get started. So welcome back, and welcome back to school, and a little bit of a preview on our back to school. Tonight's focus is really going to be about the road ahead. And the state's using the catchphrase "the road forward," and that's really where this meeting is going to take us. Just for the new parents and members of our school community, my name is John Conley. I'm the principal. I'm entering my 5th year as the principal here at Millburn Middle School, and I'd like to introduce May Ward, one of our vice principals, and Louisa Young, who is our other vice principal. And collectively, we are the administrative team. We do have some district personnel that assists us as well here, but we are basically your administrators for this building. This year, Mr. Greg Robertson is going to join us on an interim basis. Miss Louisa Young is going to be out for a short medical leave, and so Mr. Robertson has already started working with our administrative team, and he brings 33 years of experience in education, 22 of them as an administrator, and most recently, he just retired from a 15-year stint as the principal at Madison High School. So we welcome Mr. Robertson joining our team. And I know that I trust that all of you will find him to be the consummate professional and keep students at the forefront of his decision-making process. We also wish Mrs. Young the best and a speedy recovery as she is looking to return as quickly as possible. Just some new faces here, and new responsibilities. Christy Young was with us here in the middle school with a hybrid role, and she's now taking on the role as the director of STEM. And Miss Jenny Graff is a new employee to the district, and she's going to be our director of humanities. And then Ariel Dendrich, which many of you know from different capacities here in the middle school, has taken on new responsibilities as the supervisor of curriculum and instruction. And so collectively, they have shared responsibilities across the district, but will also be very much a part of the fabric of middle school and assisting us to keep this building moving forward and providing a cutting edge curriculum for all of our programs. So as we look at this year, we are going to continue to build on our guiding tenets, and our guiding tenets really are consistent with the district. And with these 4 core areas, we will continue to build and work with our staff to build a culture and a community with our students and parents. And we do that. Last year we did that during the virtual learning, and that's very much a part of the in-person learning as well. And we are going to continue to work on fostering those connections in any learning environment, because we know that that's key to allowing learning to take place. And as you do that, then you create an environment where students can then engage with their teachers, right? So student engagement is really at the core of what we do as teachers. you cannot be successful as an educator without that engagement piece in the classroom. So we will continue to work with our teachers to promote engaging lessons that will stimulate the learning. And a lot of that dovetails with that building of that community, right? You build the community, you build the engagement, and then we build the power to be able to assess what we're doing in the classroom through our assessment strategies. And really assessing not only the student learning, but how effectively are we delivering that curriculum to our students, right? So that we can pivot and adjust as necessary. And then to bring that full circle and to close the loop, it's the feedback piece. The feedback piece for our students and parents to understand where they are in the learning cycle and what they need to do to continue to grow as a learner, or where they're really excelling. And we do that in many different ways. We do that through the assessment process, right? And then obviously that is reported or recorded to our Power School. We do it through notations and conversations that take place, whether they're impromptu or formal. And then we do that through email conversations and communications, phone and video conferences. And again, trying to strengthen the feedback piece and that parent communication. And that's something that we've been working on very hard in this building since I arrived here, is really trying to make it a two-way street for communication. And that trying to build that bond between the parent and the school communication piece with the students as the main focus. So again, we are going to continue with those guiding tenets, and again, very consistent with what the district is doing as well. So what have we done? We've done some things already. We know that students, there's apprehension, there's hesitation on parents and students for that matter, and recognize that some of our students haven't been in a building in over a year. We've had many students here that were remote all last year, and those same students didn't finish the last quarter of their year. So when you think about that, the eighth graders now left here in March of their sixth grade year, and some of those eighth graders did not return in all of their seventh grade years. So as they return to eighth grade, they've really only had 3/4 of a year in our building. We've done some sixth grade tours for our new students. We've done some seventh and eighth grade tours, which is something new that we added this year, in response to trying to welcome and build a safe and welcoming environment. We've done a remote reorientation for some students. For those students that weren't here, we invited them back, and Mr. Pisa ran a reorientation for them. And then we also offer our annual transition day for our sixth graders, which is a great program that allows students to get just a preview of what it's going to look like. And then, we have our orientation day activities that will take place on the first day or so of school for our sixth graders. Again, trying to build that safe and welcoming environment for our students here at Millburn Middle School. Excuse me. So back to school, we can get into some of the business now, and we are Power School will be opened up on tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, and there'll be a couple of layers to that. Not only will you be able to have access to your teams and your class schedule, but also to all those wonderful back to school forms, which are so paramount for us here administratively as part of our organization. So we ask that you take the time to go through those forms, those back to school forms, and complete them in their entirety in a timely manner, so that our records are up to date. We know where we are, and we have that information in our system. We have a new systems manager, and she's doing great things to help streamline that process. So we're very fortunate to have her there. And then also you'll be able to get in and see your child's schedule. Okay, so let's just take a moment to talk about the road forward and the COVID safety precautions that we have here at the middle school and within the district. And in the middle of every difficulty lies the opportunity. And I really feel like with COVID, as bad as it's been, we found some silver linings in here and some practices that will continue to stay and live on beyond this epidemic or pandemic. So health and safety wise, consistent with the district, all the plans were designed with the goal of keeping our staff and students safe and physically present for a full day, full-time in-person instruction. We are actively working with the district, the local Department of Health, our school doctor and our school nurse, Miss Mary Beth Clark, to implement a safe and effective procedures for our school. That will include an annual health contract. We are moving away from our daily health screening, where students showed the screenshot of their approved ticket, essentially, to come to school. And we are asking for a partnership with parents and a commitment on the parent part to ensure that students are coming to school well. And that's the gist of the health conference contract. And we'll talk about that in a minute. The required masks for school for both our faculty and staff, we'll talk more about that. Protocols for staff and students who test positive, we'll talk more about that. The procedures for staff and students who are symptomatic, we will talk about that. And then the collection of information, which we will talk about as well. Okay, so we are also, continuing to stay with our cleaning and disinfection of our school, and classrooms will be done on a daily basis. Our custodians are using up-to-date and cleaning and disinfection protocols that are managed through the district and are consistent through the buildings. We're using the recommended cleaning supplies for schools. We have hand washing measures that are in place. We have hand sanitizer stations located in classrooms and hallways and throughout the building. And we also are using multiple entries and exits for our students. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we get to the school day. So our health contract. As I mentioned earlier, we will not be asking you to submit that daily form, but parents will complete and commit to this health contract at the beginning of the school year, agreeing that you will keep your child home when they're sick, and helping to protect, doing your part to protect the school and the school environment and the school community. Beware of the COVID symptoms, be familiar with them, be able to recognize them, and to contact our school nurse if you ever have any questions about the status of your child or the health of your child, so that we can assist you in making those decisions on whether or not they should be attending school or not. The health contract form will be available tomorrow in the parent portal, and we ask that you read through it and then commit to that prior to the start of school. And please do that as soon as possible so that students can arrive to school with knowing that they have that commitment from everyone. And I talked a little bit about what those symptoms are, just to kind of review and help educate everybody. For those that are not in the medical field, parents and guardians should not send their students to school when they're sick. The DOH recommends that students with the following symptoms should not be in school unless they receive an alternate diagnosis. Not everything is COVID, but some things to look out for. If your child is exhibiting 2 or more symptoms of a fever, chills, shivers, muscle aches, headache, sore throat, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, fatigue, congestion, and or a runny nose, or they have one of these symptoms, a cough, a shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, new olfactory disorder, and or the new taste disorder, then those are signs that the students shouldn't be coming. And again, if you have questions, Ms. Clark is here to assist you with that. And and that's what we would ask you to do. If you're having questions about that, reach out to Mrs. Clark. And again, if they are exhibiting any of this, we want you to have an alternate diagnosis before, allowing that child to return to school. So procedures for close contact, and as this kind of plays out, this was definitely a hot topic, but a close contact is defined by somebody within 6 feet for a total of 15 minutes or more of a positive case, regardless of whether or not the contact was wearing a mask. So you're a close contact whether you have a mask on or not is the gist of that. If you're unvaccinated, notify the school nurse of your exposure, and you are advised to quarantine. You may return back to school when you've completed the necessary quarantine and time frame, and you are symptom free. And that's really key. For a fully vaccinated person, notify the school nurse, very similar, of the exposure, and are advised to get a COVID test and monitor for symptoms for 14 days from the date of the last exposure. At that point, a staff or a student is able to return as long as they are symptom free. And then, adding on to that with the newest guidance, the fully vaccinated person, if exposed to a confirmed positive case, they can continue to attend work and school as long as they remain asymptomatic. However, they still recommend that they get tested 3 to 5 days after that exposure and continue to wear their mask at all times. So, talking about masks, we are all aware that Governor Murphy has said that all students, educators, staff, and visitors are going to wear a mask in our building regardless of your vaccination status. For us, this is all part of helping to keep our students in person and learning and keep everyone safe. So, students are going to have a mask on if they're bused, as soon as they get on that bus, till the time they leave here. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. There are some exceptions. Exceptions are in physical education class when they're engaged in high intensity physical activity while they're playing an instrument, eating or drinking. Students and staff can remove while they're outdoors for a snack or for physical education outside. That's fine. District will provide one mask for each student and staff member. We've also secured some additional PPEs for our nurse, our support staff, and our teaching staff. And then, we encourage families to send your child with an additional mask or two in the event that there's a mask failure along the way. And when you're looking at masks, really look at the mask that fits appropriately. It doesn't do anybody any good if the mask is hanging off the nose is exposed, there's gaps on the side. So, trying to find those comfortable masks that are properly fitting is going to help and aid in keeping our school and our school community safe. We will continue to adhere to the road forward guidance from the NJDOH and the NJDOE with physical distancing. And their recommendation is to provide 3 feet of social distancing to the extent possible while maintaining a full day, full-time in-person learning environment. So, this is where those masks being properly fitting is really, a key to helping keep us moving forward and back, closer to normalcy. We will talk a little bit right now just about the fact that, Governor Murphy has come out with the executive order that all pre-K-12 staff need to be fully vaccinated. If they're not, they need to undergo some testing once or twice a week. And so I'm sure there'll be more guidance on how that's executed with the testing and the monitoring of who is vaccinated, who is not. But, Governor Murphy has put that out. And again, another step forward to helping keep our school community safe. So today you received some information from the school, from Mary Beth Clark, requesting that you update your medical records regarding your child's or children's vaccination status. Obviously, this information will be kept confidential. It is vital to us to understand for contact tracing purposes, and also to get a sense of how much and what our population is with vaccination within the building. So that information will 100% be kept confidential. That Google form that is being completed is only going to our school nurse, and no one else has access to it, for the purposes of that information. So we thank you for your cooperation in advance in providing us that information. One last piece to that is, if the vaccination status changes, meaning that you've gone from unvaccinated to vaccinated, please update the school nurse along the way so that we can keep that information up to date. Thank you. With regard to busing, there were some questions about that. Subscription busing is back and available to the middle school. Buses, if necessary, will be filled to capacity based on each route and the number of subscriptions for that route. Route times vary, but approximately a bus ride to school is about 30 to 35 minutes in length, according to our transportation director. And buses are scheduled to arrive at MMS at 7:45, which is the time that students will be allowed to enter. What are the precautions that are being taken place on the buses? Students, again, bus being considered part of the school, are going to have to wear masks while riding. Windows will remain open regardless of weather conditions. In incidents of heavy rain, windows will be lowered to 1 notch by the drivers. And after each route, they will have a disinfectant static sprayer, I've been informed, which is similar to what they've used in last year throughout, last year with the busing and whatnot. So again, that's the update on the busing. So let's just talk a little bit about access to learning. And, in the event that, there is a need for some sort of remote, as per Governor Murphy, if buildings are open for in-person instruction, parents or guardians do not have the opportunity to opt out of in-person learning. The district will offer access to the classroom only when a student tests positive for COVID-19 and are well enough to attend, or they need to quarantine due to exposure as confirmed by the school nurse. What that's really saying is that the only time access to learning will be offered remotely is in an instance of COVID-19, and it's been affirmed by the school nurse. And that's the process that will go through. For other illnesses and things, there will not be the access to that Google Meet to have that virtual seat, so to speak. Access will be given to attend a Google Meet by the nurse for the student who has been required by the school nurse to quarantine or isolate. And again, this funnels through the school nurse. The student will be able to have access to the classroom within 24 to 48 hours. And part of that is because we need to get those setups in place. Students, should a parent not want to send their student to school, they have the ability of withdrawing a student, homeschooling a student, and returning at a later date when they feel that the situation has changed. So what can a parent expect in that? If they are going to be receiving this access to learning remotely due to COVID-19 and the school nurse requiring that isolation and quarantine or quarantine. Access to a virtual seat. Thank you to the MEF and the MMS PTO for their support of that initiative last year. The MEF with the TVs and the stands and some support stuff from support equipment and accessories from the PTO. But that virtual seat is a window into the classroom that will allow students the ability to see and hear the lesson. Students will have the ability to participate in the class discussion and have the ability to ask questions. The biggest difference being that the teacher's lesson will not be driven towards virtual learning and will not be tailored to that virtual seat learner, but will really be they will be tailored at that in-person learner. And we don't anticipate many of those virtual seats being rolled out, this year. Students should still connect with teachers with questions, and students will be able to have access, as I mentioned earlier, within that 24 to 48 hour confirmation period. All right, a little bit of travel update. Again, this is the information that we've been given. According to the CDC, unvaccinated individuals who travel should get tested 3 to 5 days after travel and stay home and self-quarantine for 7 days after domestic travel. For those traveling from New Jersey, domestic travel is defined as a stay lasting 24 hours or longer to states or U.S. territories other than those that are connected to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, and Delaware. And then for international travel, the CDC requires all passengers arriving in the United States from a foreign country to get tested for COVID-19 no more than 3 days before their flight departs. and to present a negative result or documentation of having recovered from COVID-19 to the airline before boarding. And that's more information. It's very out there, but I wanted to present that to you as well as part of this. I know people are traveling. How is it communicated? And if there's closures, COVID cases, positive COVID cases that attended school when infected, and the information for any close contacts, all that is communicated. Outbreaks are 2 or more cases that were exposed to one another in school, and the cases got COVID-19 within 14 days of each other. The cases should not have been close contacts of each other outside of the school or share a household. This would be an outbreak. These cases may be linked by being in the same classroom together or a school activity. Possible in-school transmission, 2 or more COVID cases that occur within 14 days of each other and do not have exposure to one another in school and do not have any known outside exposure to the virus. Any suspected possible in-school transmission of the virus should be reported. And then obviously, if there are community events or other gatherings in which multiple staff or student have attended and are now getting COVID, that's the kind of information that we need in order to, make the right decisions to keep our schools safe and inform the health department. Okay, kind of shifting gears a little bit and moving into a little bit about this year. I want to talk a little bit about Chromebooks and, so we are continuing with the one-on-one initiative. Students for grades 6 through 8 will have Chromebooks that they can take home and use. That one-to-one initiative proved really valuable last year when it allowed for equitable access, standard applications, and that cybersecurity piece. And we will continue to do that. And teachers will probably use that Chromebook just a little bit differently this year. It was the focus of a lot of what we did last year. And we are looking to, blend the use of that Chromebook a little bit more so that there's more of that person-to-person interaction. And we're not just focusing on a mode that's only digital. Key thing here is that it is required for students 5 through 8 to have, or 5 through 12 to have that insurance. So please, do what you need to do. I did link in on this presentation, which I'll put up on our website tomorrow, the Chromebook insurance information if you don't have it. But that is there for parents to be able to complete and fill out. So just one last piece, we will distribute the Chromebooks for the middle school during that first period on the first day of school. They've been sorted, they're arranged, they're waiting for students to pick up in that first period class on September 1. Okay, hallway lockers. We will be using our hallway lockers again this year. Students will have access to them throughout the day if they need to. Really important if you have, if you're a first-time person to the middle school, everybody gets their own locker with their own unique combination. Really keep it confidential. Have your child memorize it, write it in a secure spot, but they shouldn't share it with friends. That's how things happen. So please keep that to themselves. Additionally, students, they want to plan appropriately. Many of our students coming up from the Washington school, they haven't used a locker before. So they need to think through, what am I going to need? What am I going to need on this given day? And begin to organize themselves. That is part of building that studentship and that responsibility, about how to operate and grab what I need. Some optimal times, some suggested times before school, during your study hall, and at dismissal are really great times to go to those lockers. But certainly, if you have an incidental need, then students should go and ask their teacher for permission to go to their locker, and they will certainly afford them that opportunity, provided it doesn't become a recurring behavior. But some kids are going to just take a little longer learning that, and we understand that. We will work with them and coach them up on that throughout their time here. really key, this is kind of a COVID piece with this, locker stops. It reinforced with your child that those locker stops should be done quickly and efficiently. These are not times to be congregating in groups around their lockers. We have lots of faculty around that'll be diligent about telling kids to keep moving and get to where they need to go. But those are those unstructured times when you have those passing times, and we have lots of students in this building, so we may not always see every single person. So reinforce that with your children, that's how we do our part, and we share in the responsibility of trying to keep our school safe. And then backpacks are to be left in the students' locker during the school day, and they can carry what they need as they go. With physical education, I'm happy to say we're back to providing physical education on a regular basis. We will continue to go outside as often as possible for our physical education activities. Our teachers in physical education did a fantastic job last year, literally going out throughout the winter. But it's really important that we prepare our students for that, and that they are prepared for that, and that they have the appropriate clothing as the weather begins to turn and it gets cooler. They need to be prepared to maybe change up their layers or whatnot, so that they are prepared to go outside. And the teachers will talk through that and let them know more and more as that's going on. We will be using the phys ed locker rooms, and they will be given a locker and a lock. And again, keeping that lock combination, to themselves. And also, they should, when they're in there, get changed and get back into the gym areas where they're going to meet their classes. Those are not areas that we want them hanging out for periods of time. And again, masks will be worn when they're doing activities. But when they are required to do high physical exertion, they will be taking those masks off, and that includes indoors. So let me give you a very concrete example of that. If they're playing table tennis, masks would be on. If they're playing speedball or tchoukball or basketball, those are activities where the masks would come off. And so there's a difference. The activity will drive whether the mask is worn. Now, those students not participating in the moment, let's say they're doing team play and there's teams maybe on the sideline waiting, those students would have their masks back on until they're ready to engage in that high physical exertion of activity. But again, those low impact activities, those low impact units that they're going to be doing, those would be areas where they would be wearing those masks all the time. Okay, music, masks will be worn at all times, except for when students are playing wind instruments. These instruments will be outfitted with a bell cover, I'm told, and that will help to minimize the transmission of aerosol. And of course, we're looking to do some different things, possibly outside. And when inside, they'll spread them out as much as they can. And again, masks will be worn. Okay. Getting into the next phase of this presentation is really talking about Millburn Middle School and our new schedule, and how it plays out for staff, students, and our community. And, let's just take a look at, typical overview of our school day. I mentioned before, we start at 8 o'clock and we end at 2:50. That is a change from 2 years ago. Last year, we went to the 8 o'clock because of the virtual learning and the cohorting and whatnot. That is now part of our regular school day, and this is our new school start time, with doors opening at 7, it says 45 p.m. Look at that. It's really 7:45 a.m. Please don't show up at 7:45 p.m. For students entering the building. And 6th graders, you're going to report to that Haddonfield entrance, which is the bus circle, and that's door number 19. 7th graders, using that auxiliary main entrance, door 20, and then 8th graders using door 21, which is our main entrance. These are the doors that we used as part of our COVID protocols. This is one of the silver linings that came out, bringing students in and having multiple entrances for them to come in. And again, targeting that 7:45 time for students. If there's inclement weather that's beyond reasonable, we will certainly let the students in a little bit earlier. But we are shooting for a 7:45 start time for those students to enter the building. Just on that, we have multiple drop-off areas. Everybody doesn't have to use the Haddonfield circle as a drop-off. So, please take advantage of, dropping off at the library and having students walk and use the pedestrian bridge to cross. The Brookside drop-off area is also outfitted with crossing guards. There's opportunities for parents to avoid that traffic and that traffic buildup and those drop-off lines in the back there if you take advantage of some of those other drop-off areas. Early morning drop-off, we will continue to offer that. That time did shift a little bit to 7 o'clock. And if you are using that, we ask that you take advantage of that between 7 and 7:30. That way that facility doesn't become overcrowded with people arriving between 7:30 and 7:45. School day ends at 2:50. Buses will depart if you're a busing family at 2:58. So what does that mean? It means if you're a bus student, you need to get to your locker and then get to the Haddonfield Circle promptly within that 8-minute window. And it is very doable. Again, students just need a little bit of time to get used to it. Okay, so let's highlight some aspects of our new bell schedule. If you listened to the call last year when I was on with the Board of Education, we highlighted a lot of this. But our new schedule, we went from 9 to 7 periods in our school day, and there are 6 blocks, academic blocks in our school day now, and with a lunch and a study hall. And that's like a kind of a joined period. Students are scheduled for 7 courses, same as they were before. They have the 4 cores: math, English, science, and social studies, with world language or a support class, and then health and physical education and related arts. 6 of the 7 courses rotate through those 6 blocks. 1 class drops every day. That's where we create that longer period of time, that longer block of time for those richer academic experiences for our students, instructional periods. During the lunch block, the student's going to be either assigned to lunch A with study hall B or lunch B with study hall A. Blocks are 52 minutes, except for block 1. We've added 2 minutes for our opening exercises. And the lunch block is a 70-minute period. It's broken into 2 36-minute periods. 36 minutes for student to eat and a 36-minute study hall. Periods and classes will cascade through the schedule and then eventually drop out. It's not as complicated as it sounds. So let's take a look at the matrix here and what does it look like. So I want to highlight a few things for everybody. Your blocks run across the top. You got block 1, 2, 3. Then you have lunch block A, lunch block B, and then you have block 4, 5, and 6 going horizontally from left to right. In here, you'll see the start and end times for each period with the passing time and the duration of the periods. Okay. And then on the letter designations running down the left. Okay. We have a 7-day rotation, A through G. The most important thing is for a student to know what's the first class they need to go to. So on day A, they go to period 1. Then they in block 1. In day 2 or period block 2, they'll go to period 2. In block 3, they'll go to period 3. Then they'll have their lunch, and this doesn't depict a lunch at this point, but it'll either be study hall or lunch first, and then the opposite in the second half of that period. They'll go to period 4, period 5, and period 6 in blocks 4, 5, and 6 respectively. The period that does not meet is period 7. Period 7 drops that day. Period 7 returns on B day as the first period of the day, with then proceeding to period 1. And then the schedule follows through with period 6 dropping and then eventually returning on day C. And that follows all the way through the schedule. So your child, when they arrive to school on the first day of school, they need to know that they're going to period 1 on A day, and that's the first class that they have. And the rest of the schedule will fall through. On B day, they know that they go to the one class that didn't meet, and then they're going to go to period 1. And that would follow throughout the schedule. So what does it look like in Power School for you? So actually, let's back up 1 second. So you're probably sitting there saying, how am I going to keep all this organized? There's a great website that we have on our off of our website. It's a 7-day resource center, 7-day rotate and drop resource center. This is a printable document for you. It's a year at a glance. It will show you what every single day is for the entire school year. We built in 2 flex days that we will announce what they are at another point. That was to accommodate in the event that there was too many snow days, or a day got missed or impacted too many times. We could recoup that instruction there. So those days are built in, and we'll announce them when it's time. But here's a snapshot of what it looks like, this schedule, and it follows and mirrors the school calendar for Millburn Township Public Schools. So we have the different days that are off, and there's a key on this that you can print that you can see what everything means. But again, we have it all here for you, so you just know exactly where to go. And the days always follow; they never change. Nothing impacts them, and students will pick it up very easily. So now I was a little ahead of myself. What does it look like in Power School? Power School has a report called the Matrix View. It's a printable layout, and I suggest that you print this for your child. And I just kind of doctored this image up a little bit so you can see and highlight some important pieces. Here's what it looks like. Here are your blocks. They're denoted across the top: block 1, block 2, block 3. Here's your lunch block, and then 4, 5, and 6. And you're going to read this schedule. Here's A day, and you're going to read it left to right horizontally. If you forget any of what I just mentioned to you, you can click on the tutorial, which is also available on our website, and I will walk you through it through a voiceover and walk you through all the directions on how to read a schedule. And we will make that available. It's already available online. Okay, so understanding a little bit about lunch. Lots of questions about lunch came in this week as I was preparing for this. So let's break it down. I'm going to break it down in 2 ways. I want to give everybody the overview of what lunch is going to look like in a totally normal new 7-day rotate and drop. Then I'm going to talk about the COVID and how we're going to handle COVID in this scenario. So bear with me and humor me for a few minutes. Students will be assigned to their lunch period based on their schedule. And again, I mentioned earlier, they either have lunch A, 10:49 to 11:25, followed by study hall B, 11:28 to 12:04, or they're going to have study hall A, 10:49 to 11:25, followed by a lunch B, 11:28 to 12:04 p.m. Periodically, students will be pulled out for band, chorus, and orchestra from their study hall if they're involved in those ensembles. There are no other scenarios for lunch. Okay, so when you open Power School and you see your child's schedule, you're going to see something that looks very similar to this. This is a screenshot of a schedule. This is an 8th grade schedule, for instance. So I'll walk through it for a minute so that you understand it a little bit more clearly, because this now denotes the lunch in here. Again, I did a tutorial here specific to this slide to help explain this again if you miss it. So why is this column broken into 4 sub blocks? That's because this represents the quarter classes. In 8th grade, they have some electives. So this would represent the first quarter. Q1 would be Shark Tank the student has, then they have Beyond the Spotlight, then they have the Innovation Lab, and then they have theater and public speaking. So representing each quarter, okay? So this is one period that's broken down into 4 quarters. The student has Spanish, they have science, they have their lunch here, which I'll talk about in a minute. They have an independent study, which is unique to this schedule. They have a language arts, they have social studies, and then their period 7 class would be math, because that's the only class not depicted here. Okay, so how do we know what lunch this student has? This student has lunch A, and it's denoted here by lunch A. The student has study hall B, okay? If you go to the next slide, this is depicting a student that has a lunch B, study hall A. lunch B, study hall A. Again, this is just a different schedule. This individual, also an 8th grade schedule, has their elective in period 3 here. Okay. So, you do need to look carefully to see what lunch you're in, because it does read lunch B first, and that could be confusing. Hence the reason why I wanted to highlight this slide particularly. Okay. Understanding a little bit more about our lunchtime here. So what do we have as far as our new lunch? We know that we're underneath construction, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. We now will have 3 large eating areas that are equipped with cafeteria tables that will provide adequate space for our students, especially in a post-COVID world. Each area is designated and has its own serving line. Doesn't mean students can't go to another cafeteria space to get a lunch item from that serving line. They will have some ability to move between the areas. The main cafeteria is a full service Plumptonian dining area. They'll offer everything, and any student can go to that area to purchase food if they would like. The auxiliary caf will have, that's the new building being built, will have a limited grab and go menu, as will the lower gym. More slide stuff where it's prepped, boxed, and it's quick grab and go style. Some of the more popular foods that most of our students eat. Each lunch session will consist of a mix of 6th through 8th graders. Students are, again, I want to highlight, students are able to purchase food in any of the areas. We've designated these areas for certain students. 6th graders will be in the lower gym, 7th graders in the auxiliary caf, and a small portion of the main cafeteria, with 8th graders primarily in the cafeteria. All 3 locations are in close proximity of one another, and students, again, will have the ability to move to purchase food from different spaces. So understanding a little bit more, I've talked about these 3 areas. We're asking students to eat in these areas that we've assigned. That helps us with contract tracing. Lunch will be a mix of approximately 200 students from each grade level. Students will need to remove their mask for lunch and only when they're eating. Masks are worn at all other times. We will try to maintain as much space as possible for our students, and we will have courtyard areas available for students to sit as weather permits. Students will have the opportunity to purchase food. I would see, our kitchen is not fully ready, so a lot of that is going to be grab and go for everybody. As we begin to onboard, and I'll talk more about that with our food service provider and move forward with this. And we anticipate the menu to continue to grow as our kitchen becomes more fully functional. And then this is really key, pay forward, as many of you that have been in the district and at the middle school know, is now moved or merged with Pay Schools. So this is just the new information. So how does a student buy? Really, we're encouraging the cashless method, but you certainly can pay with cash if you wish. There's 2 ways to do it. One is to use their 5-digit student ID number, okay? And if they're using that, they really do need to keep that number confidential. Or the other way is we're going to be giving students student IDs that we're going to be expecting them to wear this year on their person at all times, and they can use the barcode on that to pay with their ID, and that's going to be the preferred method for students paying. And again, we will provide them with the student ID and give it to them. And again, they're going to want to keep that on their person. We have some lanyards that I believe are going to be a fundraiser from the PTO. So we are working on getting them a lanyard for that ID as well. But they can use one of those 2 ways as a preferred method. And then obviously cash is always an option. Okay, so we are making some lunch adjustments in response to 2 things. One, COVID, and making everybody feel really comfortable about what we're doing. And 2, we do have some delays in some of the kitchen equipment coming, and we're not quite 100% ready with that project. So as that project becomes to completion, we're making the following adjustments to help start this year off, and it really kind of all works out well for us. So here's what's going to take place. Minimally for the first 10 days, calendar days of the school year, which really equates to 5 school days, we will have an outdoor lunch. And that's something that we did very well last year here. We are not investing in tents at this point. We believe that we can do it without the tents and do it effectively. We are going to set it up very similarly to the way we had it last spring, which was very effective, with the 8th graders eating at one end, the 7th graders eating in the middle, and the 6th graders eating at the other end, and allowing them to sit in chairs. We have between 400 and 500 chairs here, and we're looking to get more, but we do encourage students, if they want to bring picnic blankets or a towel to sit on and eat their lunch, that's great, especially while the weather's really great. Great time to be outside. What is this going to do? It's going to allow us to optimize our space and provide the safest possible environment for our students to eat in as we begin to navigate eating in a full day at full capacity. Also, it allows our cafeteria project, as I mentioned, to be complete and be prepared for us to take on the demands of not only this new schedule, but the increased facility size. And then we will continue to reevaluate this process and what we're doing and for how long we will do it. Continuing to think this through, in the event of inclement weather, Mr. Connolly, you're not getting tents. What are you going to do when it rains? And you're going to get rain this fall. We know that. We do have the ability to space out beyond those 3 spaces. So to allow for increased spacing, we will allow students to use other large areas that we have here in the middle school. We've got 2 other gyms that we can use. We have the gymnasium and the bleachers that are preset in the upper gym. We'll put some chairs in the new gym if necessary, and we have the auditorium space. None of these are ideal eating spaces. They are non-conventional, but they will allow us to have and maximize space for students to spread out. We will continue to explore other options if necessary, and continue to assess what we're doing. And as always, we will monitor, adjust if we need to, because we want to provide a safe learning environment for our students. Okay, the last piece to this little augmentation to our start at the start of the school year is that we are going to ask everyone to bring a brown bag lunch at the start of the year. We will not offer food for purchase to start. And we do apologize for that inconvenience. Our kitchen is not ready to open, and in agreement with our food service provider, they need time to get that ready to go and get that kitchen up and ready to run. So we are going to, for the foreseeable future, ask for a brown bag lunch, and that would include bringing a water bottle or something for a beverage. Okay. All right. I know I've been talking, and I promise I'm almost done, but hopefully you're finding this informative. So to take a step back, let's think about that first day of school. It's really important that you print and review your child's schedule with them. Walk through it. If you don't understand, go to the resources that we put on the website. They are very useful. There's tutorials there that will walk you through it. We are here Monday and Tuesday. If you have questions, you can certainly reach out to the counselors, during that time, and they can certainly try to assist as many of you as you can. We will walk them through it step by step on day 1. Please don't have any concerns that they're not going to know where they're going to go. We are going to coach them through, help them along, and make sure it works for everybody. And that should be the messaging that I ask you to give your children as they begin to think about this. We will help them through it. Bring an extra mask, as I mentioned earlier. Minimally 1. I would ask you to have more than 1. Put them in a Ziploc bag, put them in the book bag, let them live there. In the event of a mask breaking, especially those surgical masks, the blue ones, they break easily when they're touched too many times. We want kids to be masked. We don't want it. We have extra masks here for them as well, but certainly having one on their person is very helpful. remember, the doors open at 7:45 a.m. and they should go to first period class on day A. And my closing part to this is just relax, let them relax and let them have fun. School's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be an exciting time. My 3 kids, they just started school. They were so excited to get to their new teachers and meet their new teachers. And I want for all of you what I saw out of my kids with them being so excited. So, I hopefully you found this all very helpful. Okay, and then just to highlight, what Kim Walls mentioned at the beginning, due to the delay, they did adjust those times a little bit and dates. So it's just Tuesday and Wednesday now. Tuesday will be 3:30 to 5:30 and 4 to 7. I do apologize that we can't accommodate more. We have a lot of construction going on here. We are very much an active construction site. And, there's still a lot going on with all of that. So in closing, if you've seen me present before, I love finding the quote that kind of summarizes where we are, but the best view comes after the hardest climb. I feel like we've had the hardest climb in a lot of ways. We've been working towards this schedule and we're excited for the schedule. We've had COVID that's impacted us and has really just thrown us for a loop in all last year and part of the year before. And we are coming out of it and we can see, far, and we can see where we can be in a short time. So while it is still very much a part of what we need to contend with and be conscious of, with everybody doing their part, we can overcome this and we can have a great school year with in-person learning and really getting back to doing what we do best in Millburn, which is educating our kids with a top tier education. So thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone joining the call tonight. And I wish everyone the very best, weekend, and we look forward to a great school year. Thank you very much.
All right, I was just going to hop back in, Mr. Connolly. Thank you so much for this great presentation. It was very thorough. I think you answered a ton of questions. I just wanted to see if I could throw a few things at you really quick. And if people have a few minutes and you have a few questions, you can send them directly to either me or to Jill Sherman, and we'll kind of look through the questions and try to ask him a few right now. If we can't answer the questions tonight, we will get back to you. You can also email us at ptopresidents@mmspto.net, and we will get back to you with answers on stuff. Also, I think my video, no, there's my video, sorry. I think also, we compiled all the questions that were submitted, and so obviously Mr. Connolly incorporated them into his presentation tonight, but he's also going to kind of help us answer them, and we're putting together an FAQ page with all the questions that have been asked. So we'll kind of, in a couple of days, we'll post that information on probably the Millburn website and the PTO website, so you guys can find it there as well. Okay, so one thing I was going to ask you, Mr. Connolly, I was wondering really quick if you could share your screen again and show everybody where on your website those schedule resources are. You're muted.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that you brought that up. Let me share my screen, and I will do that. So let's see if I can. Am I sharing now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if I go to millburn.org. Okay, and so this is the Millburn Public Schools.
Actually, I'm not sure. I don't see it. I don't see your screen. So
no, I don't either. No, it said you were sharing, but
you're sharing, but we can't see it.
All right, let me stop sharing. Let me go to, just bear with me. I apologize. We want to share. Okay. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So if I open up a new browser and I'm going to go to the Millburn Township Public Schools website, please click on the middle school tab. And then if you go to parents and students and you drop down, here is the MMS new 7-day rotate drop schedule information center, which will take you to a landing page. And then you can find all these resources that I shared with you today. And embedded in all of these are some tutorials that I do some voiceovers on. Like I'll go to this one. This is this shows you all the different bell schedules that we offer, like for half day. So you have all that information, delayed opening schedule, what we're going to use for the NJ SLA testing. So, and as we, if we have other schedules that we need to add up there, we will, continue to update and keep this web page updated. Here's the year at a glance where you can print that document that I mentioned before. And so it's, just a PDF that's printable. So again, this is, and we'll continue to build this. And if there's things that somebody feels that, we should have up there, then please drop me an email and we'll consider putting it up there for, another resource. We want to build this so that it's a place where you can go and ask questions or find information to questions before, going into panic mode that you don't know what it is. And that's part of why we've done some voiceover tutorials and things. We really we understand it's daunting taking on a new schedule. Trust me, no one understands that more than me. And trying to think through this and how we can think about it from the user side is important to us.
Okay, thank you. So I'll ask you a couple more questions that have come up. Locker numbers and combinations. Can you remind us?
They'll all be part of their, that's all that information can be found in Power School. And they will get that information as well on the first day of school.
Okay, so maybe in their first period class?
Yep. We're going to use that first period as a little bit of a landing page.
There have been a few questions from parents of 7th graders as well. 6th graders got the orientation tour, but 7th graders really weren't in the building much, and they didn't have lockers and don't know how to use the lockers. Will there be some
time in that first period for them to do that as well?
And maybe the teachers will help them navigate that?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
And again, we're around if some people have difficulty, we will help them navigate any trouble that they have. Okay.
Some people have been asking about what supplies to bring on the first day. I would say probably just some paper and pen, and that the teachers give out lists on the first few days of school.
Correct.
Yeah. A few people have asked about gym. It sounds to me like you're mostly going to hold gym class outside if and when possible. I think people are.
We are going to. I mean, the message that I really want to drive home is that we are going outside as often as possible. And so last year, if our teachers are doing what they did last year, again, they were outside virtually every day. We did a great job of doing that. We just need to prepare students appropriately for the weather. And so it worked out very well last year, and I anticipate it working out very well again this year. And we're hopeful that the circumstances change and we can go back to a little even more normal experience. But right now, that's our plan, is to be outside as much as possible.
And related to that, when you mentioned, one of the questions that came in was about potentially minimizing the type of gym classes that require the heavy exertion if they have to be indoors, so that they don't have to take their masks off while they're indoors.
So we're going to run our curriculum as it is. And, I would say we have a nice blend of activities that, would not necessarily be all, I don't think, I would definitely not characterize it as a narrowly focused phys ed program. I think it's well balanced with the varying activities. So I think there's a blend, but I mean, we are going to do some of those other activities, and there will be opportunities for students to take those masks off in a safe manner. And so that's going to be part of what we do. But again, we're looking to go outside as often as possible. And, if the weather permits, students will be outside for those opportunities.
For some people that came in late, they're asking about lunch. Can you just go over the lunch thing a little bit do you have an approximation as to when you think the lunch program will be up and running? And can you remind people how long they kind of need to do brown bag it?
Yeah, well, minimally, right? 10 calendar days from the start. But the brown bag might be longer than that, because depending on the cafeteria and the kitchen and when they're ready to do that. So, committing to go outside, the brown bag certainly helps us with not having to transport the food throughout the building and be outside. And also they really don't have a place to stage it right now and make it, it helps on a lot of fronts, getting us off to the right start. So we will keep parents updated, and the one thing I can tell you is that we want kids to have that experience as quickly as possible. We want them to benefit this longer lunch opportunity and unit lunch experience. That was part of what we wanted to go to the schedule for. So again, we're going to get there as soon as we can.
Okay.
But I don't have a defined date.
When do you anticipate that kids will start changing clothes for gym? And if kids want to continue wearing their mask during gym, even if it's an activity where some kids can take it out, are they?
They can. Oh, absolutely. You can always wear your mask. I mean, that's not a problem. It's just, for some of those activities, like, but remember, it's only when they're engaged in the activity. So let's say, and phys ed, like, keep in mind, sometimes these are mini games that they're doing. It might be 5 minutes that they're doing the game, right? And they have a 5-minute time on the floor, and then they're rotating off X amount of points or whatever it might be. So, when they're not participating, they got to have that mask on. When they're doing those other aspects of we're not talking about students walking around without masks for extended period of time. We are going to be very conscious of that and very much on top of that, as part of what we're doing.
Sure. We've had several questions come in about international travel. Some people have like an emergency trip, their child is vaccinated. Other people are just asking again, wondering if you could just go over that piece a little bit more. I don't know if you want us to direct them to the school nurse to kind of get clarification, but I think people are asking.
Yeah, I would absolutely, and that's exactly what I would say, is that they're going to need to direct those questions to really the school nurse, and if need for more clarity, to the Department of Health and to those various websites that outline that. I'm literally giving that information out and asking, but I can bring that slide back up and we can review it one more time. Let me just share my screen.
And while you're doing that, I don't think we answered the gym. When are they going to change for gym clothes? We know?
Oh, so the gym clothes, I would imagine in the first day or two, after the first day, they will be back into playing and changing for phys ed. They will be, it'll be pretty quick. The first day for 6th graders are going to have a little bit of an orientation. And typically the phys ed teachers go through a lot of procedural things the first day, locker distribution, all of that. And then once that's done, they're getting into their activities and stuff. So that will happen quickly. And the teachers will outline all that on day one for them.
So while you're pulling up that international slide, I will mention Mary Beth Clark is our nurse, and she is marybeth.clark@millburn.org for those of you who need to reach out to her.
Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the guidance that we've been given. CDC requires that all air passengers arriving in the United States from a foreign country to get a COVID test no more than 3 days before their flight departs, and to present the negative result or documentation of having recovered from COVID-19 to the airline before boarding the flight. So, that's the guidance that we've been given on that.
And just to clarify, the access to remote learning is for nurse. Nurse
Correct.
has to
For
certify
a-
or basically say
Correct.
that it's qualified for
Yeah,
that.
it is, if a student is COVID positive and is forced to isolation by and that has been, kind of determined by the school nurse, and a quarantine situation that's dictated by the school nurse. Those would be the only two options for that remote learning.
So I would say people that are traveling that are self-quarantining, that does not qualify basically. But they probably need to let the nurse know if they've been traveling. And
Correct.
the self-quarantining means that you just treat it sort of like back before COVID when your kid was sick for a few days and you just had to reach
Right.
out to the teacher and get the assignments and whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
And for, other illnesses as well, you would treat it the same way as you would have treated it before.
Okay. And there was a little easy question, brown bag lunch. You don't really mean it has to be a disposable lunch, right? You just mean
No.
Bring your
That's
own.
I'm sorry. That was me just being,
Old school.
dating myself here.
I
But for sure, no, last spring we did very successfully. Thank you, parents, for all that you did to make that successful. Students brought lunch boxes. That's completely fine. Students will have an opportunity to take their lunch, grab their lunch before they come outside. And remember, there's plenty of time. They have a 36-minute period. If they need to go grab their lunch out of their locker, that will not be an issue. Keeping in mind, a student's getting almost 15 minutes more than they got before to eat lunch pre-COVID, in this new lunch block. That was, really one of the things that parents were hoping for is a longer lunch period because they were rushing to eat. So we got a taste of this last spring and it worked really well. So yes, bring, a lunch box if you have that. Many kids did that. Many kids brought the brown bag piece too, and that was fine. So whatever works best for a family, totally understand.
Okay, great. So again, I'm just going to reiterate because there's a lot of people asking a lot of these questions about international travel and the quarantine and all this stuff. I'm really going to suggest, and I posted it, to please contact the school nurse, marybeth.clark@millburn.org, with all of these direct questions, because she is the gatekeeper basically to let you guys know whether or not you have, the school certified quarantine where you're going to get remote learning or what you need to do. So I think that's the way everybody should try to go.
Correct.
I think
I
again,
have-
there's
I have two.
a lot of backpack questions. No backpacks. They need to be in the lockers.
Right. Backpackers are in lockers. I mentioned that earlier. Yeah. So
There's no more auditorium time. So I think somebody was asking this. No, it's now a block that's split.
Yeah.
with
So
lunch.
that was part of, when we went to the new schedule. So, that was another big push from the community when we were changing schedule. How do we eliminate that just void of time that didn't really have a purpose in the school day? So what we've done is made that lunch and joined that with the study hall. And that's really how we created that. So what would have been auditorium time is now a structured study hall for students.
So go ahead.
Mask breaks. Obviously, they're taking their masks off for lunch and for gym, but are there any other opportunities to have a mask break if
Just like it was in
necessary?
the past, we've been through this for a year now. We've gone through this since last, November. It'll be the same as it was a year ago. If students need to step out of the classroom to remove their mask for a moment, they can ask a teacher to do that. We were in a full day from May to June, whatever, and it was not an issue. So we managed it very well then, and it'll be handled exactly the same way.
And the other question I got was, is there any talk about having the students provide a COVID test before the first day of school?
That has not been brought up to me. No, I don't have any information on that.
Thanks.
I can find out.
I don't know if I'm not sure the district can mandate that because they're offering tests, but none of us are mandated to take, it's just offering.
But to that end, I mean, I would encourage any, people to take advantage of the COVID testing that they're offering through the district. Getting yourself tested, it doesn't only help you, but it helps the entire school community, right? So if people are getting clear COVID tests, that's a win for everyone. But yeah, right now it's not a mandated thing.
I think there's a few more questions here. Do you know, are lockers near their first period or?
So lockers are definitely by wing and by grade level. And we do try to string them together by teams. But yeah, I mean, the 6th graders are in a wing, the 7th graders are in a wing, the 8th graders in a wing. Not everybody can be close to their first period class. And, with a rotate and drop schedule, your first period class is going to your first block class is going to change every day. So, keep that in mind too.
And a couple more questions about lunch. One was there ever consideration to eating lunch in their own classroom with plexiglass? And the other question is, why no tents?
Well, so let me answer the first question, which is about the eating lunch in your own classrooms. There's not a short answer for a long question. We're a school of 1,200 students with a lot of moving parts and a lot of moving classes. So we need those classrooms for other reasons. And so, when one group is eating, we got 28 other classrooms in use. And so, that's not an option for that. And I honestly believe that the scenario that we have is a better scenario than the one that's being suggested, in that scenario. Right now, we're going to be outside. We've got, 6 large areas that we can use. And, that would have prohibited the lunch program, the Pomptonian program of hot food service. You would have had kids carrying lunch all throughout the building. So, we've got a pretty good plan and we have adequate seating to be able to hold an indoor lunch. We're going outside to be super cautious. 1, take advantage of the great fall weather. 2, and we do have that little delay in our project where we're ready. We couldn't use those spaces currently. The kitchen isn't ready. So let's take advantage of going outside. The second question was about, and I'm sorry, I didn't write it down, but
why no tents?
Tents. We did have discussions about tents, and what we did find last year, right, when we did the tents, is that the kids wanted to be out and spread out when the weather was good. So, and what we did find is that, you're jamming those kids in underneath those tents because they're only so big, and we're going to have even more kids now. So it would be even, more of an investment in those tents. And when the weather gets really, really bad and heavy rain, everybody in our middle school last year realized one day we did have to have an indoor lunch, and it was early on. It might've been the 3rd or 4th day we were doing it. And it was, the rain was so heavy that we couldn't be outside because the kids had to get outside and there's no vestibule to get them to there. So they're going to get wet on the way out and wet on the way back in, and it's muddy. So it's not optimal. I mean, it was great. And it really allowed us to make that safe transition last year, but I do think we can manage it without the tents right now. And as I've discussed with the PTO about possibly doing something with the tents if we need to, and we'll cross that bridge. I'm not ruling it out. If we need to bring the tents in, we will engage in that conversation. But I do think the prudent thing to do is to see if we can do it without it first. And if we need the tents, then we go and have that conversation about when we bring the tents in and how long we need them for. So I think right now with the weather being, the weather is on our side, fingers crossed, no hurricanes come through, and we have good weather to start. And we do have a backup plan inside if we need to use that. But I'm really trying to balance keeping everybody, putting everybody's apprehensions at ease, I think we have a really good plan, and I think we're going to approach it, with an eye that if we need to adjust, we will adjust.
That's great. And I think some people also don't realize that the tents come with a hefty price tag. So
I didn't want to go down that road on here, but yes, they do. And we were very fortunate to have those last spring. It was great. But again, I think we can replicate and have the same success without the tents to start. And if we need to go down the road of a tent, we may have to just rethink how we do things a little bit. So.
But I do think I personally think you've done a great job spreading out the kids so that they have more distance between them, which I think hopefully will make parents feel better than them being all crammed into a little bit tighter space.
Right. And we're looking at limiting the table seating, and and all this is part of our plan. And, it might not be optimal. It might not be that you get to sit with all your best friends at one table, like you might have done in a pre-COVID world. But again, safety has to come first, and then the social part second. And, the safety has to trump that piece. So, it's going to be a little bit different, but hopefully in 6 months or a year, we're not talking about this anymore. And we're talking about kids wanting to sit all together at one table. And that's, no one else wants that more than me and all of you on this call. So I appreciate the question and where everybody's coming from.
Right. I think also the notion of eating in the classrooms provides another logistical issue too, because it's like about lunchroom coverage. It's also about teachers have to be able to have their break that's in their contract. So it seems like an easy fix that I think some people think, why can't you do that? But that's, again, like everything has a bunch of moving parts and a bunch of logistics. So I think what I would like to ask the parents to do is trust that Mr. Connolly, Miss Young, Miss Ward, and everybody else have done their due diligence on looking at all the different opportunities and trying to figure out the best way to keep the kids as safe as possible. Because I think that at the end of the day, as a Millburn Middle School community, we all want the kids to be safe and healthy as our top priority. We also want them to have a great learning environment, and we want to help them with that social emotional piece as well. So I think the goal this year is to try to get as normal as possible. We can't quite get there yet. It's not our fault, but we want to start doing things in person at some point. We want to get back to not having to wear masks and do stuff, but we have to do this for a little bit longer. We all have to kind of just grab an oar and keep, rowing in the boat together and get through this. I have one last question, and I think, and then I'll let you guys go, because I know it's already at past 8:30 and I appreciate your time. The last question that I got was, if and when the school closes down from COVID, will the district offer emotional support and booze for the parents? So I would end on a light note and a funny question that I thought made me laugh after all the other questions. And I thought, hey, you know what? The district won't provide it, but Jill and I will definitely come up with a fundraiser for us.
Yes, absolutely.
Without a doubt. Listen, I'm really optimistic that we're going to be in school uninterrupted. I really am. I feel good about it. I think that I don't think we should be surprised if we don't have instances of COVID. I think the numbers are just going to happen. But I guess my closing part to that is, I just ask that everybody does their part. We're going to try to do the best for you all from the Millburn Middle School in providing a safe learning environment. And I trust that I will continue to try to refine our process and make sure that we're doing what we need to. And all I can ask is that everybody does their part on their end to send kids that are healthy to school, make sure that they're masked, and have those hard conversations with them about, being mindful of their own distance and being mindful of how they're wearing their mask, and, and doing that part, because that will make the difference, right? Those little things will make the difference in helping to keep us in school. And I know this community is committed to wanting to be in school, and I am committed for us to be in school. I mean, I was pushing last year real hard to be in school. So I'm really optimistic for a good year, and I'm sure we'll have our stumbles, but we will continue to get ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and move forward. With the end goal that we're going to be normal, back to a normal environment for our students' sake, and that's what it's all about, right? This is about the students.
Absolutely. So thank you guys for your time. We really, really appreciate it. For all the parents that are still on, we will post this presentation. I think Mr. Connolly is going to post it on the MMS website. We will also post it on the PTO website. Again, our PTO website is mmspto.net. That's also where you can go to get to the ASE registration tonight in about less than an hour. And again, our email address to catch Jill and I, and we can answer all kinds of questions, or if we don't know the answer, we'll get the answer for you, is ptopresidents@mmspto.net. So I hope this has been informative and helpful for everybody, and we wish everybody the best first day of school next week. And again, like Mr. Connolly said, we're all in this together. We all have to do our parts, and just keep swimming. All right. Thank you, everybody.
And thank you, Jill and Kim, for helping me put this together, and the rest of the PTO for your continued support. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night and have a great weekend. Enjoy the last weekend before school starts. Looking forward to seeing everybody on Wednesday.
Absolutely. Good night.
Night.
Good night.